Today I have a book for you called What Do You Do with a Tail Like This? I'd like you to listen for as many and remember as many different animals as you can. And also, these animals have some special body parts that allow them to do some really neat things that no other animals can do. So I want you to listen for what makes each one of these animals special. Animals that use their noses, ears, tails, eyes, mouth, and feet use them in some very different ways. See if you can guess which animal each part belongs to and how it is used. At the back of the book, you can find out more about these interesting animals. What do you do with a nose like this? Can you guess which animals each one of these noses belong to? I'll give you a minute to look. See if you recognize any of those noses. If you are a platypus, you use your nose to dig in the mud, like a shovel. If you're a hyena, you find your next meal with your nose. If you're an elephant, you use your nose to give yourself a bath. If you're a mole, you use your nose to find your way underground. And if you're an alligator, you breathe through your nose while you're hiding in the water. So there's the platypus digging underground. Here's the elephant giving himself a bath. Here's the mole. See that funny looking nose? That helps him to find his way underground when it's dark. And the alligator breathes through its nose when it's underwater. And the hyena can smell very well to smell some potential food. Another animal in the distance. What do you do with ears like these? So here's some different animal ears. Can you guess what animal these ears belong to? If you're a jackrabbit, you use your ears to keep cool. And we talked about that, the jackrabbits that live in the desert and their big ears that help to keep them cool. If you're a bat, you see with your ears. Can you imagine? But we did talk about that too with the echolocation, and they hear the echoes, and that tells them how close they are to different things. If you're a hippopotamus, you close your ears when you're underwater. We can't close our ears, can we? If you're a cricket, you hear with ears that are on your knees. Can you imagine? Crickets have ears on their knees. If you're a humpback whale, you hear sounds hundreds of miles away. They have very good ears. So there's the jackrabbit, the bat who's echolocating, the hippopotamus that can close its ears underwater, the cricket with ears on its knees, and the whale that can hear so far away, hundreds of miles. What do you do with a tail like this? There's a bunch of different tails. What animals do they belong to? If you're a giraffe, you brush off pesky flies with your tail. If you're a skunk, you lift your tail to warn that a stinky spray is on its way. Stay away. If you're a lizard, you break off your tail to get away. Can you imagine? If you're a scorpion, your tail can give a nasty sting. If you're a monkey, you hang from the tree by your tail. So Here's the giraffe that uses its tail to brush away flies and insects, and horses do that, and cows as well. Here's the skunk that gets rid of his enemies by the stinky smell. Here is the iguana that can break off its tail if its predator is trying to catch it by its tail. Here's the scorpion that can give a nasty sting to an enemy, and the monkey hanging by its tail. What do you do with eyes like these? And here's some different animal eyes. You got them figured out? If you're an eagle, you spot tiny animals from high in the air. If you've ever heard someone say, oh, you have eagle eyes, that means you have really good eyes that see from a far distance. If you're a chameleon, you look two ways at once. Can you imagine? Our eyes only go one direction. A chameleon can have one eye look to the left and one eye look to the right, both at the same time. If you're a four-eyed fish, you look above and below the water at the same time. So the four-eyed fish can look down and up at the same time. Top part of its eye goes up, the bottom part of its eyes go down. So it can look up and down at the same time. We can't do that. If you're a horned lizard, you squirt blood out of your eyes. Can you imagine? Now that doesn't hurt the horned lizard, but it scares away its enemies. Can you imagine if you saw blood coming out of someone's eyes or an animal's eyes? You'd probably want to turn the other way. So that scares away its enemies. If you're a bush baby, you see with your large eyes very clearly at nighttime. So here's the chameleon that can look both left and right at the same time. Here is the eagle that can see from way up in the sky down to the ground. Here's the horned lizard that squirts blood out of its eyes. And the four-eyed fish that can look up and down at the same time. And the bush baby with those great big round eyes that can see well at nighttime. What do you do with feet like these? And there's some different feet that belong to different animals. If you're a chimpanzee, you feed yourself with your feet. If you tried to eat at the table with your feet, I think your mom and dad would get you in trouble and scold you. Say, that's not very polite. Well, that's how chimpanzees eat. If you're a water strider, you walk on the water with your feet, on top of the water. If you're a blue-footed booby, you do a dance with your blue feet. If you're a gecko, you use your sticky feet to walk on the ceiling. Wouldn't you like to be able to walk on the ceiling? Sometimes if you have too much sugar, your mother or father might say, you're going to be walking on the ceiling soon. If you're a mountain goat, you leap from ledge to ledge. If you've seen maybe sometimes in movies where they say parkour and they jump from building to building, well, the mountain goat would be very good at parkour. Here is the chimpanzee eating with his feet, the blue-footed booby doing a funny little dance, the water strider walking on top of the water, the gecko walking on the ceiling, and the mountain goat getting ready to leap from one ledge to another ledge. These are some pretty interesting animals. And what do you do with a mouth like this? Do you think they just use their mouths for eating? We'll see. If you're a pelican, you use your mouth as a net to scoop up fish, a big net. If you're a mosquito, you use your mouth to suck blood. If you're an egg-eating snake, you use your mouth to swallow eggs larger than your head. If you're an anteater, you capture termites with your long tongue. And if you're an archerfish, you catch insects by shooting them down with a stream of water. Wouldn't that be cool? If you could shoot something down with a stream of water from your mouth? Although we would probably say that was rude because we'd say it was spitting, right? Well, if you're an archerfish, you get to spit. Here's the pelican with the big net at the bottom of its mouth, catching fish. Here's the snake eating an egg that's larger than its head. The mosquito. They're going to be coming out when we get some warmer weather. Here's the anteater with its long sticky tongue. And do you see that blue archerfish shooting out a stream of water to attack its enemy? And to shoot down the insects so it can eat them? Well, we have heard about a lot of different interesting animals that can do different interesting things with the body parts that God gave them. Let's just take a couple minutes to remember some of them. The platypus is a very unusual animal, and it lives in streams, ponds, and rivers in Australia. We don't have them around here. Its feet are webbed. It lays eggs. And the male platypuses have poisonous spurs in the back of their legs. The platypus closes its eyes under the water, and it uses its sensitive bill, it has a great big bill at the front, to detect the faint electric pulses emitted by its prey. The world's largest land animal is the African elephant, and it can stand 13 feet tall and weigh more than 14,000 pounds. With its trunk, an elephant can breathe, pick things up, suck up and spray water, communicate with other elephants, bathe, and defend itself. Its trunk could weigh 400 pounds all by itself and be as long as 6 feet. So if you were a person that was as tall as 6 feet, you'd be pretty tall. Well, the elephant's trunk, just its trunk, can be 6 feet long. The star-nosed mole. Remember the mole with that funny nose that helps it to find its way in the dark? It has 22 fleshy fingers at the end of its nose. So it has fingers at the end of its nose. Can you imagine? The mole spends its whole life underground. It never sees the light of day. So that's why it needs to be able to have that funny nose to help it get around underneath the ground. Its eyes are useless because it's in the dark and its eyes don't work well. So it uses its nose to find its way through all the tunnels that it goes through underground. Its sensitive nose helps it to smell and touch and find things. The field cricket's ears are on its two front legs. So the cricket's ears are on its front legs. That's pretty neat. And the sound that we hear, the chirping sound, is made by rubbing the edges of their wings together. In the warmer temperature, they chirp faster. They rub their wings together faster. It says here, counting the number of chirps in 15 seconds and adding 40 gives a fairly accurate temperature reading. So some people can figure out the temperature by listening to how fast the cricket chirps or rubs its wings together. The hippopotamus can get a sunburn very easily, so it spends most of its time under the water. It can weigh 3,000 pounds. We said that the African elephant can weigh more than 14,000 pounds. Well, the hippopotamus doesn't weigh near that much, but he's still pretty huge. He can weigh 3,000 pounds. They close their ears when they go underwater, and they can stay underwater for as long as 30 minutes. He needs to be able to be in the water so he does not get sunburned. The five-lined skink has a long tail that can break off when it's attacked. The wriggling tail can distract predators and allow the lizard to escape. So can you imagine if you saw the tail fall off, you would probably be distracted by that, and then the lizard escapes. The world's tallest animal is the giraffe. The world's largest animal is the African elephant. The world's tallest animal is the giraffe. It protects itself by kicking its powerful back legs. And we'll read about one more, the spider monkey. It can use its tail like a fifth hand. So it uses its feet as hands, and its hands as hands, and its tail as hands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's like having 5 hands. The spider monkey often hangs by its tail while it's eating fruit, leaves, and flowers. Well, I think we'll stop there. There's so many interesting animals that we read about in this book, but we don't have time to talk about any more right now. But I hope you enjoyed learning about these unique animals and the special things they can do that are different from any other animals. And that's a reminder to us, God created these animals to do creative, unique things and to be different from each other. And He's created each one of us to be different from the other people in our family or in our classroom. And we all have special things that only we can do. Don't ever forget that.